Welcome back to the Coding Explorer. This is Pradyumna and let us continue our exploration on the world of software. Before we begin, I hope that you watched my last video on how to take input from the user using the input statement in Python. Now, let me tell you the homework answer. Now, for the ones who don't know how to create a new file, just create on this project folder. Here, click on the folder where you want to create the new file. Here, right click on it and then click new. Select Python file. Here, whatever you want to give the name, I'll name it as homework.py. So it gets created in this directory. Now, I hope you remember what I had given. We had to take the street name, city and country of the user and display it in a single line using comma between each of them. So let us try it. Let us write street name. In Python, when you have variables having spaces between them, you should not give them. You should either put an underscore between it, or you can use the camel case convention, in which the new word that you have will be made capital with its first letter. Now, let us take the input from the user. We ask what is the name of their street. Then we take the city name. Then we ask this name of this state. Then we ask the name of their country. Now it is all stored in here. So now we have to tell the user, but we have to tell it in a single line. How do we do that? We just put a comma between each of them and display it. So first we say your address is, and then we join the street name. Then we need a comma between this, so we need to always put it in a string because this comma will not be seen by the user. Then we again tell the city, then we again join the state, then at the last we join the country. Now you can see here that whatever happens is your address is, it joins their street name, and then after that it joins this comma, and then it joins their city, again a comma, again their state, and then a comma, and their country. After this there will be no commas to add to this, so we need not write anything after this. So let us just run it. So as you can see, it is showing your address is, and it's already joining all of them with a comma between it. So let us continue with today's class. As you can see, we are going to learn data types in Python. But what is the data types? As the name suggests, data types are classification of categorization of data items. you can see that there are different types of data types. As you can see, in the numeric we have integer, float, complex numbers, dictionary, boolean, set. In sequence type we have string, list and tuple. We are going to learn each of the data types as we go further in the classes. We are going to learn the basic data types. For now, there are integer, float, boolean and string. Now, as you can see, the different basic data types are integer, floating point, string and boolean. They are referenced as int, float, string, str and bool. Now, this integer always refers to numbers. They are all whole numbers and not included with decimal points. Now, decimal points number comes under floating points. Here, as you can see, they always have a point to separate the integral and decimal places. Now, what are strings? As we had already told, strings are all letters. They are combination of letters and all the alphanumerical values. You can see there Python also comes in the strings, and even 3, which is under quotes, so it will be considered as a string. 47.8 is also a string because it is in quotes. And then comes bool. Bool, there are only two values. There are true, that is true and false. Now let us learn how to interconvert each of these 3 data types. Now let us see if we have to convert this 3 to an integer without these quotes. We have to say the computer int, and in brackets we have to give this number in quotes, so it will get converted without quotes into an integer. Now if you have to convert this 47.8 with quotes into a float, we have to just write float. In brackets we have to write 47.8, and we can also convert int to a string, and that is done by str we use, and then we write the integers such as 405. Now let us just try it out. Now we come back to PyCharm. Here, instead of creating a new file, we can use the Python console. The Python console is not a file that is stored, so if you just need a testing to do and just a single line code, we can test it out here. So let us type a number a is equal to 45. This is in the type of an integer. Now it's stored. Now let us just convert this into a string. A, we write b is equal to string of a, so this get converted to an string. Now we write c is equal to 46.8. Now we can convert this into a string. We write str of c. Now as you can see, they're all getting updated here. You can see that b is in the form of string, which is also given over here because it's in quotes, and even 46.8. Now we can also convert this from one to another. So let us convert this b into an integer. So let us take e is equal to integer of b. So if we give that, you can see that e is 45. Then let us just check, let us convert d into an float. So let's write f is equal to float and d. So you can see it is also converted back to float. We can also see what data types they are over here. So it is very easy to convert it from one to another. Now let us continue. Operators are special symbols in Python that are used to carry out specific functions. There are 3 types of operators in Python. They are arithmetic, comparison and logical operators. Now let us learn arithmetic operators in Python. Arithmetic operators are used to carry out mathematical function. They are plus, which adds the given operands, that is the 2 numbers or anything that are given on either side of this operator. minus, which subtract the operands, and then multiplication, which multiplies the operands, and division, which divides the operands. This symbol that you can see is double division because it returns the integer only after the division. And this is the modulus operator, which is used to give the remainder of the division. Now let us learn about comparison operators. They are also called relational operators and are used to compare value. The different types are, this is less than. If you can see here, a less than b, it returns true if a is less than b. Here true will be a boolean value. And then greater, here as you can see, a greater than b, it returns true if a is greater than b. In all the cases, if it's not true, it will always be given as false. Now it's less than or equal to, it gives true if the operands are less than or equal to each other. Then it is greater than or equal to, here also it compares and gives true if a is greater than or equal to b. Then comes equal to. We cannot have a only equal to because it is already been used to assign variables. So we have double is equal to, it returns true if this a is equal to b. And then comes is not equal to. This returns true if a is not equal to b. Now let us learn about logical operators. Logical operators are used for logical comparison of multiple conditions. As you can see, the three different types are and returns true if both of these conditions are true, that is a is less than b and c is greater than d. And then comes or. Here a is less than b or c is greater than d. It returns true if either of them are true. The difference between each of the and or, as you can see, is and returns only when both are true, but or returns true when either of them are true. Then comes not. Not is different from and or. It inverses the boolean that is there. So if it's true, it becomes false, and if it's false, it becomes true. Now let us start creating a program. We'll be creating a billing program for hotels. So as you can see, it asks the number of people and the items, such as burger and ice cream and pizza, and then it gives the total and it tells how much each person has to pay. So let us start. We go to PyCharm, then we create a new project. I'll create the new project as class 3 billing, then create. So we can remove this code. Now what we have to do is first we store the price of each item. So we say burger cost is equal to 45. Then we say pizza cost is equal to 90. Then ice cost is equal to 20. Then we take input from the user, how many users are there. So we just take number person is equal to input, and then we asked how many people are there. But as you can see, as I told it in the last class, whatever the user gives will be stored in the form of a string. So if you use any operators, that is if you divide or multiply this, it will show an error that it is a string and you cannot do it. So we have to first convert it into an integer. So we convert it into form of an integer. Then we ask number of burgers. We say int input how many or we ask number of burgers, then we ask the number of pizza. You can just copy paste it. So here also, as you can see, it should always be converted into integer form, or else it will show an error. Then we take number of ice creams. I'll just give it as ice. Then here we have to give the full because it will be shown. Number of ice creams, number of burgers. Now this is already converted into int, so then we have to add these all. So we write total is equal, we first take number of burger total. It will be equal to the number of burgers into the burger cost. So we get the burger total, and then we get the total for the pizzas. We can just copy paste this. Then this should be equal to number of pizza into the pizza cost. Then let's take the ice total. Then it should be number of ice into ice cost. So we'll get the total for each of the item. Now we have to find the total for all of them. So total is equal to burger total plus pizza total plus ice total. Now after adding all, we have to print it out. This will always be in the form of an integer. Since it's added, you can see it's total int. Then we print the total is. Now before we go any further, let me tell you there are two ways of joining a string. So here it is, the total is, instead of putting comma we can use plus. Further on we'll always use plus because sometimes the comma might not allow us program to perfectly work. Then we add total, but what happens here is it is in the form of a int, so we have to convert it into a form of a string, or else it will show an error saying that it is in form of an int, it cannot be shown. And you have to also give a space, but it will not be a problem with the comma because it also adds a space and converts into string. Now we find the average for each person, so we write average is equal to total divided by the number of people that are there. So we print saying each person has to pay. We have to leave a space, then we write plus, we add this thing, but we have to convert average also into a form of a string, string of average. So let us just run this. So how many people are there? We just give 4. Then the number of burgers we took, we can write 3. Number of pizzas 5, and the number of ice cream as 4. So as you can see, it added all of it, and it also gave how much each person has to pay. Now let us just check removing this int, what happens. We'll just understand whatever error that is there. So we click run. So you can see that it's showing an error, unsupported type operand. So this operand is not acceptable as it should be in the form of an int. Let me tell you that all the files that I have made have been stored in GitHub. If you click on class 2 input, you'll find the homework I had given, and if you click on class 3 billing, you can find the file that we created. Let me give you today's homework. So you have to continue the program that we have created, and instead of showing how much each person has to pay in the form of a float, you have to show it in the form of an int, and then whatever is the remainder, because you cannot have it only int, so whatever is the remainder also should be shown. Now let me tell you an awesome fact. In idle, if you just type import anti-gravity, it opens a comic in the web. But let me tell you how to do it in idle and what is idle. You have to come back here, you just type idle, you search for idle and open it. It's open. Idle is similar to PyCharm. It is supported by Python. Is already, whenever you download it, it comes along with it, but then it does not support as much support you get from PyCharm, such as IntelliSense. That is, it understands your code and shows any error that might occur. So let's just type import. So that is why we always use PyCharm. So if you click on import anti-gravity and enter, it opens this. Thank you everyone. We'll be learning about conditional statements in the next class. Please like, subscribe and share, and just click on the bell button for the next videos, and if you have any doubts, put it in the comments below.